Even where knowledge was concerned, all he knew was how to till the land, what seeds to plant, and when to plant them. So he took the one thing he had, the gear temporarily issued him by the kingdom, and fled. He didn't consider whether his escape would make trouble for his parents. Even if it meant the family could survive, they had sold his little sister. He no longer had any love for them. It wasn't easy for someone who didn't know the land to escape without assistance. So it was fairly lucky that he met people who would help him. These people were a gang of mercenaries. Granted, as a peasant, Zack didn't have much value to them, but they had lost many men in the war and were aiming to increase their numbers quickly. They were accepting almost anybody. They weren't a proper organization, just a group of wartime sellswords who also moonlighted as bandits. There isn't much to say about Zack's life after that. Better to have something than nothing. Better to steal than be stolen from. Better to make someone else cry than cry himself. That was how he lived. He didn't think it was wrong. He didn't have regrets. He was further convinced of that every time he attacked someone and heard their screams. Zack ran through the slums. He ran desperately as the sun was setting, through a world stained a deep red. He'd been running almost the entire way since leaving the inn, so his breath was ragged and sweat beaded on his forehead. Fatigue made him want to rest. It asked him if he wouldn't like to catch his breath, but time was growing short, so he pushed himself to keep running. Then, when he turned a corner, watch out, someone on the corner grumbled as they jumped out of the way with a metallic jangle. It all happened so fast it took Zack by surprise. He looked at the black shadow. It was a woman with a nice face. Because of the black cape she was wearing, she melted into the shadows, but from within the darkness shone two curious purple eyes looking straight at Zack. His temper had grown shorter with exhaustion, so he yielded to his irritation and yelled at her. "That's what I should say, you're going to get hurt. Look where you're going." Though he meant to overwhelm her with his shout, she didn't so much as flinch. She just grinned. The bone-chilling smile caused him to back up instinctively. He didn't have the courage to draw the knife in his breast pocket. He was like a mouse frozen by the glare of a lion. That metallic noise he heard when she jumped out of his way must have been armor she was wearing. An armed woman, so she must be an adventurer. He picked a fight with the wrong person. Those thoughts went around in Zack's brain, along with the danger alert. He had no intention of making light of her, because women are weak. Zack knew that there were strong adventurer teams, made up entirely of women. He'd heard the strongest man in the mercenary gang mention them once. Zack belonged to a gang of sellswords, but he wasn't among the best swordsmen of the lot. It wasn't an overstatement to say he was among the worst. That's how he'd ended up with this kind of work. As Zack regretted his actions, the sweat from his sprint quickly turned cold. Seeing the fear on Zack's face, the woman's frightening smile mellowed into a satisfied grin. "Well, whatever. I don't have time anyhow, but if I see you again, I am gonna kick your butt," the woman said casually and slipped past him. He was curious as he watched her go. She was heading into an area of the slums where no one lived. What was a beautiful lady planning to do there at such a late hour? It kindled his interest, but he had something else he needed to do at the moment. Ripping himself away, he set off running once more. Soon he was moving down a block of slums. Dingy shacks lined the street. He quickly ran his eye over the area to make sure no one was tailing him. Twilight was waning, and the world was sinking into darkness. He made extra sure there were no figures lurking in the shadows. He checked numerous times along the way, but he still needed to look one last time. Satisfied, he nodded. He stood before a certain door, catching his breath, and knocked 3 times. Then he waited 5 seconds and knocked 4 times. The reaction to the sign came right away. He heard the squeak of wood from behind the door. The plank covering the peephole moved. A man's eyes peered out from the opening. They rolled to take in Zack. "Oh, it's you, 1 second." Without waiting for Zack's reply, he replaced the plank. Zack heard the heavy sound of a key turning in the lock, and the door opened a crack. In you get, the faint smell of something that had gone sour wafted out. This place was the total opposite of where Zack had just been. Expecting his nose to get used to the smell, he slipped inside. Once the door was closed, the shack seemed dim and cramped. The cafeteria and living room just inside the door had a single table. One candle stood on it, throwing a weak glow. A grimy man, giving off a vibe reserved for those who made violence their occupation, moved the table's chair and sat down. The wood shrieked. He had a firm build with a thick, muscular chest. Lingering scars marked his face and arms where they were bared. It was the weight of this kind of guy that the chair was tasked with supporting. "Hey Zack, what's wrong? Did something happen? The situation has changed. It seems like our prey is going to move." "Arg now," Zack nodded silently. The man scratched his scalp under his long, shaggy hair, mumbling, "This late? The timing awful. Can we do anything about it? Seems tricky. It's the lady's demand." The man had heard about this woman a few times from Zack, and he scowled. "Use your head, old man. Tell them there are scary bandits on the roads at night. Come on, even an idiot can come up with something. Ugh, how about breaking the carriage wheels? That would make them leave tomorrow. There's no way, they're already loading the luggage. It's better to just do it and get it over with." My guess there's that the man stared into space, thinking for a moment. "So when are they leaving?" "In about 2 more hours. It's down to the wire, no. Ag, what should we do?" "If we get in touch now, there's not much leeway, so it'll be a bit of a pain, but they nice pray." The man counted on his fingers as he figured out the schedule. Standing by silently, Zack looked down at his own hands. "They piss me off. Stupid rich people." He thought of the girl he called the young lady and her beautiful hands. No one who had ever worked in a field had pretty hands like that. Peasant hands were cracked from cold water and tough from hoeing. Even their nails were deformed. Those were the hands of everyone in the country. Zack knew the world was unfair. He twisted his lips and bared his teeth. "I can have some fun with the lady, right? I am first, though, and we're gonna be taking money for her, so you can go too hard. No major injuries." A vulgar grin appeared on the man's face. Perhaps driven by that lust, he stood up. "Okay, let us do it. I'll contact the boss." "Gotcha. I'll get 10 guys together in the usual spot. Make sure you there in 4 hours. If you not, we'll come to you, so be sure to make our prey go to bed." A single carriage left the fortress city. It was a large carriage with plenty of room for more than 6 people. 4 solidly built horses drew it. The moon hung large in the sky, making it abnormally bright. That said, driving a carriage at this hour was an extremely foolish move. The smartest way to spend the night was to light a lamp, put someone on lookout, and camp. Humans didn't rule the world of the night. Or to put it more accurately, anywhere the sun did not reach was not a domain of humans. In the shadows of the night lurked animals, subhumans, all variety of monsters. Many beings with eyes that could see in the dark would attack humans. The carriage drove down the highway through that dangerous night, transmitting slight vibrations to the passengers. The road had few bumps, not due to superior shock mechanics, but because it was paved with cobblestones. The cobblestone highway maintenance was initiated due to a proposal by the Golden Princess. So far, only one area under direct jurisdiction of the king and the domain of one of the 6 great nobles, Marquis Revan, was paved. The nobility claimed that if the roads got easier to travel, it would make it easier for the empire to invade. There was also confusion about who was to bear the cost of the road repairs. Princess Rena's proposal to get merchants to donate funds hit a setback. The nobles of each domain opposed it, feeling their right to control the highway would be infringed upon. The result was the current heavily potholed state of the roads. This area under the king's direct jurisdiction was well maintained. Even so, it wasn't perfect. The carriage suddenly lurched with a clank, and everyone inside felt it. The bump cut off conversation inside, as if they'd reached a stopping point for one topic. The passengers were Sebas, and beside him Solution. Across from them sat Sholtia, flanked by her minions and beloved concubines, 2 vampire brides. Zack was, of course, in the driver's box. After a brief period of silence, Sebas slowly began to speak. "There's something I've been wanting to ask you." To ask me? What is it? You do not seem to get along very well with Mistress Aura." "Is there a specific reason for that?" "I do not truly think she is so terrible," Sholtia mumbled, gazing idly at the nail of her pinky finger. It was pearly white and 3/4 of an inch long. She was toying with a file in one hand. Her nails were already well-shaped and didn't need any work. She decided she no longer needed the nail file, so she flung it at one of her vampire brides. Then she reached out with her now empty hands toward the chests of the vampires on either side of her. She noticed the expressions of the others, made an awkward face, and stopped. It doesn't seem that way, Sebas continued. Sholtia's face twisted up like she'd bitten something bitter. I okay? I simply tease her as I see fit because my creator, Lord Peroncino, decided we do not get along. Well, Lady Bubbling Teapot may have set it so that Aura does not think highly of me either. She waved a hand as if dismissing the topic as uninteresting. Her eyes met Seba's S for the first time. Actually, my creator, Lord Peroncino, and Aura's creator, Lady Bubbling Teapot, are siblings. So in a way, it's like we race sisters. Siblings, is that so? I heard Lord Peroncino talking about it a long time ago, while he was walking through my territory with two other supreme beings, Lord Lucifer and Lord Nishiki and Rai. Unearthing the treasured memory of attending such great personages, Sholtia's gaze filled with longing. And he said that Lady Bubbling Teapot is engaged in a trade known as voice acting, and that she is rather popular. She even provided her voice to a rogue as well. Sometimes, when Lord Peroncino bought a great work he had been looking forward to, it would bring to mind his sister's face, which depressed him. Sholtia continued on to say that she had no idea what it all meant. Sebas cocked his head, puzzled. Voice acting, if I remember correctly, it involves a lot of talking. Apparently they also sing songs, so they must be similar to bards. Sholtia chuckled. No, what do you mean? What I heard from Lady Bubbling Teapot herself is that it involves using one's voice to give something a soul. Her job is to impart life. Oh, is that so? What an embarrassing misunderstanding on my part. I humbly thank you for informing me, Mistress Sholtia. Sebas and the others were given some knowledge upon their creation by the supreme beings, but that was all they had. With no idea of the real things, sometimes misunderstandings arose regarding the occupations of the masters they so worshipped. Not wanting to make the same mistake twice, Sebas repeated the meaning of voice acting under his breath several times. Never you mind. More importantly, Sebas, we were traveling together and all, so you needn't be so stiff. Is that so, Mistress Sholtia? To address me as mistress, we both serve the supreme beings. The only reason a hierarchy exists is because of the jobs they gave us. Really, there's no gap between us. That was true. The reason Solutions served Sebas too was simply because she had been ordered to. Originally, they were equal in status. Understood, Sholtia. I will allow myself to refer to you by simply your name. Good. Speaking of not getting along, what about you and Demiurge? Sebas pursed his lips. Seeing that, Sholtia narrowed her eyes like a mischievous child and continued. It's not as if the supreme beings decided that you two should be that way, so what's your excuse? I wonder, I do not quite know myself. It seems almost instinctive. I simply dislike him. Well, he feels the same, so I don't have anyone like that. Perhaps we harbor the feelings of the supreme beings who created us. The possibility is high. Sebas nodded with deep feeling and Sholtia stared at him. Then, considering his line of work, she made up her mind to ask the question she had. Who's on the 8th level? I know Victim is, but surely there must be others. Sebas raised his eyes slightly at this sudden topic change and gave her a sober look, trying to figure out her motive for asking. Beside him, Solution's expression changed slightly, but it was such a small movement that it went unnoticed by the pair talking. When that large party of fools who opposed the supreme beings attacked, they broke through the 7th level, but didn't invade the 9th level where the supreme beings were. That means they were intercepted on level 8, correct? I don't have any memory of it, but they must have come with quite a bit of war potential, so there would have to be someone with equal force to meet them. But nobody knows who. Albedo knows, because she manages things. It would be strange if she didn't know. She continued without paying any mind to Sebas, who was silent. I somewhat loathe the feeling that she has one up on me. Who is this top secret being? Could it be someone Lord Aints created? Touch Me created Sebas. Albert Elaine Oddle created Demiurge. The warrior Take Mikazuchi created Cocytus. But Sholtia didn't know who the most elite of the 41 supreme beings, Aints Momonga, created. He had to have created someone, so guessing that it was someone on the unknown 8th level made sense. No, I do not believe so. I haven't heard much, but the name of the one Lord Aints created is Pandora's Actor. He is as powerful as me and all the floor guardians, and he guards the deepest reaches of the treasury. I don't think I've heard of him. Unlike Albedo, she hadn't been given knowledge of all the beings inside Nazarick, so she was hearing this name for the first time. But even if one needed a ring of Aints Ool gown to get to the treasury, it would be strange for it not to have any security, especially the area farthest inside. All of Ain't Ulgaun's best magical items were enshrined there, and she had heard there were even some world items. Someone created by the most elite supreme being was the ideal individual to guard it. Sholtia's pride ached slightly at the thought that she couldn't be the one to do it, but she consoled herself that there was no choice. She figured that guarding the first 3 levels as the primary line of defense was a duty on par with protecting the treasury. Besides, she'd been given an important mission. Indeed, I have never met him myself, since one must wear the guild ring to reach the treasury. Her reaction seemed to indicate that perhaps she had lost interest, but Sebas didn't show whether he cared or not. So in the end, the 8th level remains a mystery. That's too bad. Indeed. We are not allowed to go there, so there must be something, right? Something of what sort? Perhaps something that would attack us. HRM. Not bad, but what about a death trap that activates with no questions asked? I do not think opponents who were able to penetrate the seemingly impregnable Great Tomb of Nazarick, built by the Supreme Beings, and protected by us devoted guardians all the way to the 7th floor, would be defeated by something so simple. Shall we not sneak a peek? Sholtia smiled like a kid who'd come up with a good prank. In response, Sebas's face had his usual smile, just a bit bigger. You would disobey Lord Aints? No, it's a joke. Please do not give me that frightful glare. Sholtia, curiosity killed the cat. We must wait until Lord Aints feels it's time to tell us. You are right, so did our prey take the bait? Sebas replied without any mention of the sudden change in topic. Yes, perfectly. All we have to do is reel him in. After giving a shallow nod, Sholtia licked her lips, and her crimson eyes lit up with a singular sparkle. Sebas knew at once what that meant, and judged this to be a good time to bring up Solution's request. About that, there's something I'd like to ask you. What? She grumbled at being interrupted in the middle of her happy imaginings of the coming scene. Sebas continued in a calming voice. I wonder if you would not mind giving the driver to our solution. Yes, an underling. Yes, about messenger rank, I think. Hearing this, Sholtia closed her eyes and thought for a time. She must have considered various possibilities before giving her answer, but she nodded emphatically. Then that's fine. He doesn't seem like he would taste very good even if I drank him dry anyway. Thank you. We're grateful for your generous consideration. Thank you, Mistress Sholtia. Oh, tease nothing, never you mind. Sholtia gave a surprisingly tender smile to Solution. Then she moved only her eyes to Sebas. I hope with this you would please forget my earlier gaffe. Understood. I never thought you would actually do something so utterly foolish in the first place. A fine joke. Yes, I know. If you had done something like that to me, I probably would have felt the same way. Then I wouldn't say a word, but I'd have some minions keep an eye on you. If it seemed like you were going to rebel, I'd immediately rend you limb from limb, then take you in chains to Lord Aints. I would not do such a thing, Sholtia. You wouldn't? That almost brings your loyalty into question. Surely you would. Sholtia and Sebas laughed together, truly enjoying themselves. Well, I am an ally to cuties. Moreover, I am sure it'll be fun in its own way to give him to Solution after we ray through. So how do you intend to capture them, Sholtia? Paralysis? Hold person. Before leaving for Rantel, Aints had given Sebas the order to capture humans who can use magic or martial arts, but aim for people whose disappearance won't be an issue, like criminals. As part of that plan, Sebas was playing the role of a butler under the thumb of an airhead daughter of a successful merchant. They had been waiting, but then a fish named Zack took their bait. Sholtia's role was to catch that fish along with the rest of his school. I don't want to do something so involved. Lord Aints said he didn't mind if I drank their blood and made them slaves, as long as I caught them. Investigating each one seems like a bother, so I'll just drink them all up. Sebas nodded without speaking. I see, but if that was her plan, he had some serious worries. It was due to this appraisal that he slipped up and said, in that case, perhaps Demiurge would have been best for this mission. He can manipulate opponents like Aura can with her breath. Demiurge had a skill called Incantation of Influence, a powerful mind control ability. It would have been incomparably useful for this type of job, where they had to capture their opponents. All of a sudden Sholtia emitted an unbelievably low grunt. The atmosphere in the carriage was suddenly very heavy, flooded with a skin-penetrating chill. As if even the horses sensed it, the carriage suddenly lurched with a huge clunk. The pale skin of the vampires on either side of Sholtia grew paler, and Solution's whole body trembled.